I think we'll start now. So, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Crisis Updates 101. My name is Xavier, and I will be guiding you through this session. So, please remember to keep a notepad or a Word document open as this will be an interactive session and there will be lots of activities. So, to begin, may I ask how many of you have participated in a month before? Please raise your hands. So, only one person? Okay, so two. So, Shivani Gupta and Ritu N, you haven't participated in month before, right? Okay, so is that all?
No, we haven't participated.
Okay. Ritu N. Okay, so I will be starting with a. And how many of you have participated in crisis committees before? One. Is that all? Great. So I'll be giving a brief introduction about MUNs and crisis committees, since majority of you haven't been to a crisis committee. Okay. So the first question you might be asking is, what is the teen debater? Who are we? So we are a non-profit organization in India dedicated to transforming debate education for school students. So while we prefer not to call ourselves like a mundane organization, but a community, we are for the students, by the students, and we want to empower and nurture students through debate education and teach them multitudes about world issues, politics, and etc. So here you can see our main goals and our vision. We want to make debates accessible. We want to empower students. We want to spread education, give independence, and make everyone excellent. Our vision is to offer debate education to everyone in India so that it becomes a skill, not just an extracurricular activity. So here you can see our agenda. What is MUN? What is crisis committee? What is crisis? Types of crisis. How to deal with a crisis using the crisis toolbox. What happens after a crisis? And throughout the session, we will be having practice exercise. So we will work our way from the basic to the more advanced concepts so that by the end of the workshop, you will be a crisis master. So we'll start with an introduction to MUN. So MUN is a fun and engaging way for students to step into the shoes of diplomats and tackle some of the world's biggest challenges. So crisis committees take MUN to the next level by throwing in unexpected twists and real-time developments to force delegates to think fast, adjust their strategies, and make big decisions under pressure. An interesting fact is that while we don't follow the actual rules of parliamentary procedure at the UN, we do mix and match the UN parliamentary procedure and Robert's Manual of Parliamentary Procedure. So, what is a crisis committee? A crisis committee is different from traditional MUN committees in many ways. While in regular UN committees, you represent countries, here you represent individuals. And rather than engaging in structured policy debates, delegates in crisis committees must navigate unpredictable, rapidly evolving scenarios that require immediate decision making and adaptabilities. You may take on the roles beyond diplomats, such as historical figures, military strategists, corporate executives, or revolutionary leaders, each with unique powers and responsibilities. The actions they take not only influences their individual success, but also have a direct impact on the overarching narrative of the crisis, making strategic planning and dynamic problem solving essential for shaping the committee's direction. Crisis committees can take on various formats, each presenting distinct challenges and opportunities for delegates. Historical crises are one. Have you imagined or thought of what would happen if this world leader didn't do this, or if this fellow didn't make a speech, or what would happen if you could enact these people? That is what historical crisis is about. These committees revolve around pivotal moments in history, allowing delegates to reshape events by making different strategic decisions. Examples include the Cuban Missile Crisis, World War II strategy councils, or the fall of the Roman Empire. There are also futuristic and sci fi crises. Imagine what would happen. Have you ever wondered what would happen if you could go and decide what would happen in the future? Or if you could enter into the world of your favorite book or movie? That is what these committees are about. They are set in speculative futures where you have no idea about anything, with political or technological dilemmas. Delegates may address issues such as AI governance, interstellar diplomacy, or climate-driven geopolitical collapses. Now, fantasy commit crisis, they draw inspiration from fictional universes, incorporating the lore and the political structures of established worlds, such as Game of Thrones, Star Wars, or mythology-based scenarios. Delegates may navigate wars between two pirate ships, power struggles within magical societies, or diplomatic negotiations in alternative realities. Now, joint crisis committees are completely different. They can be of the other three types, but they involve two or more cabinets competing or working together in another situation. JCCs create an additional layer of strategies as groups try to advance their agendas. Examples include the US and the USSR in the Cold War, corporate power struggles, or intergovernment military conflicts. So now we have to understand crisis. So, what is a crisis anyway? A crisis is a sudden, unexpected event that shakes things up in the committee, forcing delegates to react quickly and strategically. These high stakes situations can range from wars or coup d'etats or economic crashes and cyber attacks. They challenge delegates to think on their feet, weigh risk, and make smart decisions under pressure. They are unpredictable, so that means anything can happen. The key to handling a crisis is stay calm, assess the situation, and take bold but calculated steps to keep things moving in your favor. So, if you can see here, you can find the crisis escalation flowchart. So, crises in MUN are like a domino effect. One decision can change the entire reality of the world. You start with the initial committee debate, slowly making crisis notes and moving into a crisis place. After that, you decide what to do in a provisional speakers list. After that, you find out delegate actions through directives and notes. Finally, responding to the crisis, and then a resolution happens and a final outcome. If it's good, then then the next crisis will be rather lesser than the current. But if unresolved, it will be escalating. For example, a small revolution in a rural part of kingdom, if not handled properly, can it can completely turn into a coup d'etat. And it is like a circle. It goes on and on and on until finally committee is over. So there are multiple types of crisis. There are political crises, again as coup d'etats, or government overthrows, diplomatic breakdowns, or change of government. You can have military conflicts, as in declaration of war, revolutions, or invasions. Economic collapses like stock market crashes, trade control, or hyperinflation. Social and humanitarian crises can include protests, uprising, natural disasters, or epidemics and pandemics. And technology and cyber threats include hacking, AI revolts, or nuclear launch threats. So, crisis updates are how we keep the excitement going in the crisis committees. They introduce new developments, shake up strategies, and push delegates to think fast. These updates can come in the form of, of verbal announcement, written crisis updates, multimedia presentations, press release, and external influences, each bringing its own level of urgency and impact. So, verbal announcement is the most direct. The crisis committee, the crisis staff burst into the room with breaking news. They tell you about major developments like assassination, military takeovers, or sudden war declarations. They might even bring a special guest to talk to you. So, written crisis updates are little notes containing everything that happens in the real world. This is common as after every other crisis update, they give this document which tells the summary. Multimedia presentation can include videos, images, or news broadcasts projected to enhance realism. They are common in bigger conferences for the immersive storytelling experience they bring. Press releases and external influences are one of the more dangerous crisis deliveries. They can be fake news reports, diplomatic statements, or social media links. They are very manipulative and sometimes they cannot even be true. They are made to shift public opinion and to take you down. So each type of crisis update adds a new challenge. So be ready to adjust your strategy on the fly. So now I am sharing a small activity. So you are supposed to read the crisis update and follow the instructions. Okay? Please keep a notepad or a document open. Breaking news: US debt default triggers global economic chaos. The United States has officially defaulted on its sovereign debt for the first time in history. sending shockwaves through the global economy. The NYSE has plummeted by over 30% in a single day, while Eurasian markets are following suit. Inflation in the Eurozone is spiking. China's manufacturing sector is grinding to a halt, and major banks in London and Tokyo are on the verge of collapse. In Washington, D.C., the government is scrambling to contain the fallout, but deep political divisions have stalled any immediate solution. The IMF and World Bank are calling for emergency measures, while Beijing and Moscow are capitalizing on the crisis to push for a new global financial order. Meanwhile, protests have erupted in Berlin, Paris, and New Delhi, with demonstrators demanding urgent action to stabilize their economies. As international leaders rush to find a solution, corporate elites, underground financial networks, and rogue nations are maneuvering to exploit the turmoil. The world stands at a crossroad. How will your country or organization respond? So, I want you to imagine that you are representing either Germany, India, China, or the UK in an IMF committee. So, based on your country's economic and political position, I want you to consider these questions. Please put your please put whatever country you choose in the chat, please. Come on. Hello? Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Please put whatever country you choose in the chat. You may choose any one of these, and two or more people can represent the same one: Germany, India, China, or the United Kingdom. India. Okay, next person. Prishti, Sarathya, Govind, Khetpal, Ritu, N. Gitika, Govind. Please choose country.
Actually, my name is Atharv. I have put the wrong.
Third.
Yeah.
Yeah. So can you please put whatever country you choose in the chat, please? Prishti, Sarathya, and the Turf. Okay. So we've got three currently. Fourth one, go. Fourth one, Drishti, Sarathya. Are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Please put your country. Thank you. So now, can you see each question that you should consider as your own country? So I will give you 5 minutes to to consider the questions and create your initial response, whatever you will do as your country. Remember, it is a remember it is a crisis committee, so anything can happen. It's IMF. So, good evening, Rachna Sharma. Good evening, Rachna Sharma. Rachna Sharma, we are currently in an interactive activity. Could you please choose one of the countries you see on your screen and consider the following questions? Please put it in the chat. Good evening, Hannah Javed. We are currently in the middle of an interactive activity, so could you please choose one of the countries in your on the screen and consider the questions and draft a small response to the crisis? I will send pictures on the of the crisis on and the countries on the group. Okay, so can you see all the questions you need to consider?
We need to consider these questions and then we have to solve it.
Yeah, not you just need to do a basic response, what you will do as the leader of your country. I'll give you extra 5 minutes.
After solving, what should we do?
You can put your response in the chat and we will discuss it.
All right.
Please finish up your responses quickly. Time's up. Please share your responses in the chat. Time is up. Please, please. Anybody? Somebody?
Do we have to, individually answer every question, or as a conclusion we
No,
can
as a
do?
complete response.
Okay,
Okay.
complete right.
So, how many of you have actually
Okay.
completed it? Any numbers? Okay. Considering that nobody is responding, I'll move on to the next slide. So, the next question is how to deal with crisis. We can divide it into two steps. But don't worry, handling a crisis can feel overwhelming. But if you break it down, then you can stay in control. The first thing to do is to stay calm and analyze. Take a deep breath. Identify the core issues and figure out who are the key players. Who stands to gain? Who might be a threat? Understanding the landscape will help you make smarter decisions. Next, react quickly but strategically. But jumping in too quickly can backfire. But staying silent for too long can make you irrelevant. Find the right moment to contribute, shape the discussion, and guide the narrative in your favor. A well timed argument can change the course of the crisis. Use crisis tools wisely. You've got resources at your disposal. Use them. Submit well thought out crisis notes. Form alliances to strengthen your position. And propose creative solutions that push your agenda forward. The key to success is staying flexible. Crises are unpredictable, so be ready to adapt and think a few steps ahead. So, next is step two, react, and dominate. Navigating a crisis isn't just about reacting, it's about staying ahead of the game. The best delegates know when to push forward, when to hold back, and how to shape the crisis to their advantages. Here are some key strategies to help you take control. Find the balance between diplomacy and power moves. You should support your bloc but position yourself as a leader. Remember that crises are supposed to take the major players down. So that means a leadership vacuum, and you can take control and push your agenda. But remember, it isn't all about aggression. Sometimes building alliances and using diplomacy can be just as powerful as military moves. Knowing when to negotiate and when to take decisive action is key. Thinking ahead and anticipating the next move. Don't just respond to what's happening now. Try to predict where the crisis is headed. A great delegate doesn't wait for updates, they create them. If you can stay ahead of the crisis staff, you can shape the outcome. Using crisis notes to outmaneuver opponents. Crisis notes aren't just for fun, they are powerful tools. You can use them to gather intelligence, sabotage rivals, build secret alliances, or execute covert missions. A well timed, well written note can change the course of the entire committee, adapting quickly to unexpected developments. A rigid plan will almost always fail in a crisis committee. Stay flexible, be ready to adjust your strategy on the fly, and always have a backup plan. The ability to pivot under pressure is what separates great crisis delegates from the rest. Before we start this next section, let me ask you a question. What do you think happens in the back room? Is it a bunch of manners working together to find a way to make your storyline work? A neatly organized softboard is there mapping out the direction that committee is flowing because of all your actions? Sorry, but if you think that, you are completely wrong. In the back room, they are using crisis to pull down others, and it's the same for you. In the end, they want their storyline to work, and thus they use the chicken game. The chicken game is happens especially in crisis committees. It's when two key players are in a headlock, waiting and to push their dominance and make sure that they are the most powerful. But in the end, they are both pushing so much that nothing happens. It's either that crisis escalates until you have a full blown war, or one who is now known as the chicken steps down. But to get on the good side of the back room, you have to pull others down. It's a zero sum game, and occasionally a completely surprising front room attack will work. To win the golden gavel, you will first have to understand this. The moral of the story: backroom isn't your friend. So, in a crisis committee, having the right tools at your disposal can mean the difference between success and failure. Think of this as your secret weapon stash. Each tool helps you shape the crisis and takes control of the situation. Here's what you have at your disposal: crisis notes. And these are your behind the scenes power plays. Want to send spies, launch secret military op, or bribe a key official? Crisis notes let you make big moves without broadcasting them to the entire committee. Just make sure they're clear, specific, and strategic. Vague or unrealistic notes won't get you far. Directives. If crisis notes are your personal power move, directives are where the whole committee takes action. These are formal decisions voted on by the group. Things like declaring war, setting sanctions, or forming alliances. If you want to steer the committee's direction, mastering directives is key. Press releases. Controlling the narrative is half the battle. Press releases let you shape public perception, whether that means rallying support, turning the media against your enemies, or calming tensions. Smart delegates use press releases to sway opinions and keep their reputation intact. So let's practice your skills. Now, please tell me if you want to do the activity. If not, I'll skip it. Because last time nothing came. Are you all willing to do the activity?
Yeah, yeah, we are.
Okay, then.
Yes, yes.
You have 5 minutes to write a crisis. You have 2 minutes to write a crisis note responding to the economic collapse scenario. Think strategically. How can you turn the crisis to your advantage? Submit your notes in the chat and I'll review them all, giving feedback on how to refine them for maximum impact. Your time starts now. Time's up. Please share your crisis notes in the chat. Have you finished it? Great. So Shivani has finished. Atharv and Rachna. So if nobody else is going to sing, then
I'm a bit
Shivani,
confused.
excuse me.
I'm a bit confused.
So do you remember that previous crisis? Just a minute, it's raining. I'll close the. So your job was to create a crisis note giving a response to our previous economic collapse scenario. Got it?
Yeah.
So you can continue doing that as it goes on. We'll seeing that only Shivani has sent, we'll discuss it at the end of the um, meeting. Got it? So next, what is a crisis arc anyway? A crisis arc is like your personal storyline. It's how you build influence, take control, and make your mark. The best crisis delegates don't just react to events, they create a plan, build momentum, and see it through the end. So, there are three steps to create a crisis arc. First is acquisition. You need resources to do anything. This could mean securing financial assets, forming key alliances, gathering intelligence, hiring manpower, anything of the sort. Think of it as setting the stage for your big move. Allocation. Now it's time to position your assets wisely. Whether you're deploying spies, spreading propaganda, or strengthening your military power, this phase is all about setting up your strategy so that when the time comes, you're ready to act. Execution. This is the moment where everything comes together. Maybe you're launching a coup, securing economic control, or striking a game changing diplomatic deal. Whether your goal execution is where you put all your planning into action. The key to success: stay flexible. Crisis situations change fast. So always be ready to adjust your approach. The most successful delegates aren't just great planners, they're great improvisers too. So, when you execute a crisis arc effectively, you have to follow certain rules. Imagine you have 10 rupees and want to buy something of 20 rupees. Can you do that? No. So the lesson there is that you should only use resources you have. And remember, always progress the story. Each note should build upon the last. That means it should be a continuous story, one chapter after the other, and balance flexibility and impact. Adapt to crisis staff decisions. That means you can't be like the story of the oak and fern. The oak stood steadfast and strong, not bending, but in the end he toppled over because he was too rigid. Whereas the small fern, it swayed to the wind and in the end it stayed upright and strong. So, crisis executions are two types. They can be instant or ongoing. Instinct is when you do quickly. For example, sending out a press release upon a crisis or an assassination. And an ongoing execution is like a story. Again, you need to build upon each chapter. So remember, if a crisis update blocks part of your arc, Pivot instead of forcing it. So remember that every good crisis arc has to be planned. You have to break it down into main arcs and supporting arcs. Imagine it like the main arc being the actual plot, while the supporting arcs are the little plots that build to that main plot. You might have an unimportant role in committee, but that doesn't matter. Anyone can rise up and rule the world in a crisis committee. But how do you do that? If a crisis blocks your arc, don't be like a brick wall. The one who is flexible and adapts will, no matter what, in the end, hold that golden gavel. So please tell me that you will, whether or not you will do the activity. Will you? Hello, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, yeah. So are you willing to do this activity, all three of you?
I couldn't quite get the activity. Could you just explain it in a brief?
So you have to build a small crisis arc of five crisis nodes, making such that you have to making such that you can work on the previous crisis. Can you hear me?
Okay.
Okay, so are you willing to do this activity, Rachna and Atharv? Okay, so it's okay, we'll skip the activity for now. So, manpower, very important. In your crisis notes, you have to do things. But who do you make to do your work? You cannot just jump out of committee and do it. That is why you have to include manpower in the acquisition stage of your note. So remember, there are multiple types of manpower. Corruptible, that includes anyone who can be swayed from the position due to various activities. Loyal followers, they are supporters who believe in your cause. And hired agents, they are paid professionals for specific missions. For every work you need to do, you need different people with different experience. You need both skilled and unskilled labor. After all, you cannot ask a security guard to perform a medical operation or ask a construction worker to spread mass propaganda. That is why you have to include the specific type of who you need. For example, clerks and housekeepers, they are very good spies. They can give you stuff, they can listen into meetings and etc. Security guards and police, they are very useful for when you need to cover up various things or manipulate investigations. Local officials and judges, this can influence legal decisions, reduce sentences, or pass favorable policies. Media manipulation includes news anchors, editors, radio hosts, actors, anything like that. They can spread propaganda, have people work for you, and shift the public opinion altogether. While teachers and professors, they can recruit and influence students and create youth movements. Whereas sabotage and medical influence, doctors can help a lot, and construction workers, they can sabotage infrastructure, material laundering, and blockades, and etc. So one rule that works everywhere is you scratch my back and I scratch yours. Quid pro quo. Okay, so we've skipped that part, so no need. So immediate aftermath of crisis. The big question is what happens after a crisis? So first we'll talk about what happens in committee. We go into a PSL while through a round robin, which is when people continuously, which is when everyone has to give a speech, no exceptions. It is done through seating arrangement. While we do this, slowly power shifts from one bloc to the other, and delegates either cement their alliances or defects at the earliest chance. Finally, there is a round of documentation to give a response to the crisis. Long term effects of a crisis. In the long run, on the other hand, there is a radical change in position, and the backroom starts to devise a new crisis and see how committee progresses. So there is a major power shift, and previously key players in the committee may become obsolete. So are you willing to think and discuss? No?
Sorry.
So can you so I want you to switch on your mics and discuss in the position of your country, how would your committee have changed after the economic collapse scenario? Think about it. No? Nobody? Nobody? Not willing to?
I mean, it would have changed a lot.
Lovely answer. So that concludes the end of our workshop. So, do you have any questions for me? Anybody? No questions, right? So, thank you for participating. Please join for the next TTD event. We are having a writing competition soon at 6 o'clock. It is for 9th and 10th graders. Tomorrow will be for 11th and 12th.
Uh,
So,
there is a event at 6 o'clock today, or what?
yeah, the essay writing competition.
Oh, anything else related to this?
Crisis committees, not at the moment. We will have our HSM TTD month sometime in October. You can keep on looking out for that.
All right.
But that is all. We are having a few workshops here and there, and multiple big events are being planned. So please do look out. If you have any questions, you can contact me through my email or through my number. So, yes, Shivani?
Yeah, so I had a question regarding the crisis.
Yeah.
Yeah, so at the end of the meetings, how do the delegates decide? How are the crisis when we put out our answers to the whatever updates they give? How are our decisions judged?
So, if not, so you're saying if nothing happens If the delegates do not give any response, then
Hmm.
how does the backroom work? That is your main question, right?
Yeah, that's also a question. And even if we give a response, how are our responses decided and how are they judged?
So again, the crisis staffer, the back room's main aim is to work on pulling down the key players. So once you do something, they will try to use your response to pull others down. Got it?
Okay, okay. Okay, got it.
So is that all? I've put my email
Yeah,
and
yeah,
Or
number.
that's it.
any kind of problem which happens in a country or the world, the crisis report is the most important thing to have, right?
Yes, your your backroom guide. So is that all for today?
Yeah, yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
So thank you for joining. Please do be on the lookout for TTD events. Follow our Instagram page. Join our Discord and WhatsApp servers. We have multiple exciting things happening. Thank you. I'll end meeting now.